Mayday, loss of buoyancy, diving, those were among the final reported words connected to one of the greatest naval mysteries of the Cold War. The year 1968 was already one of the most turbulent times in modern history. The Vietnam War intensified. Nuclear arsenals continued to expand. Governments spied on allies just as often as they watched their enemies. The Cold War had reached a dangerous balance, one maintained by thousands of nuclear weapons hidden beneath the world's oceans. Then, something extraordinary happened. Within just 8 months, for military submarines, each belonging to a different nation, vanished beneath the sea. One American, one Soviet, one French, one Israeli. More than 300 highly trained sailors disappeared forever. Official investigations blamed accidents, mechanical failures, and human error. But many naval historians have never stopped asking a darker question. What if these sinkings were not isolated tragedies? What if 1968 was the closest the world ever came to a secret war fought entirely beneath the ocean? To truly understand this mystery, we must look at the nature of underwater warfare during the height of the Cold War. During this intense era, military submarines were among the most secretive and terrifying weapons on Earth. Unlike strategic bombers or massive missile silos, submarines were almost impossible to track once they left the port. Hidden beneath thousands of feet of dark ocean water, nuclear submarines carried weapons capable of destroying entire nations before anyone even knew they had launched. For these brave crews, silence was survival. Every single patrol was wrapped in complete and total secrecy. Even friendly governments rarely knew exactly where another nation's submarines operated at any given moment. This absolute secrecy created the perfect environment for mystery and, perhaps, for undetected conflict. Between January and May of 1968, this silent world was shattered when 4 separate submarines disappeared into the deep. The American attack submarine USS Scorpion, the Soviet ballistic missile submarine K-129, the French submarine Minerve, and the Israeli submarine INS Dakar. Different crews, different missions, different oceans, yet all vanished within months of one another. To many historians, it remains one of the strangest statistical coincidences in naval history. Or perhaps it was not a coincidence at all. The first mystery began on January 25, 1968. The Israeli submarine INS Dakar, originally built for Britain's Royal Navy, had completed a full modernization before beginning its long voyage home. Thousands of people celebrated at the port as it crossed the Mediterranean Sea. Then, sudden radio silence. There was no distress call. There was no confirmed technical explanation. Naval stations received only fragments of emergency transmissions before the submarine disappeared with all 69 crew members aboard. For decades, families waited for answers that never came. Its wreck would remain completely undiscovered for more than 30 years, buried deep in the Mediterranean mud. Just 2 days later, another disaster unfolded in the very same sea. The French submarine Minerve departed from the port of Toulon during routine military exercises. Weather conditions were difficult with high waves, but entirely manageable for a professional crew. Minutes after communicating with a military aircraft overhead, all contact ended forever. 52 French sailors vanished in an instant. France launched one of its largest naval search operations in history, utilizing advanced ships and sonar equipment, but they found absolutely nothing. For decades, the Minerve simply disappeared from history, leaving a painful void for the families of the lost crew. Only recently, in 2019, was the wreck finally located more than 2,000 meters below the surface. Then came the month of March, and the scale of the crisis escalated significantly. The Soviet Navy lost one of its most valuable strategic assets. The K-129 was a diesel-electric submarine that carried 3 nuclear ballistic missiles, each capable of wiping out an American city. Its exact mission remains classified even today. When it failed to report back on its regular schedule, Moscow quietly panicked. They launched an enormous search involving dozens of Soviet warships, submarines, and long-range aircraft across the Pacific Ocean. Officially, the Soviet government acted as if nothing had happened to avoid showing weakness. Unofficially, frantic radio signals filled the airwaves. Eventually, After weeks of searching in vain, the submarine was declared lost with all 98 sailors aboard. But unlike the previous disappearances in the Mediterranean, another superpower was watching closely. Another nation may have already known exactly where the Soviet nuclear sub rested on the ocean floor. The United States possessed one major strategic advantage during the long years of the Cold War. It was a secret underwater listening network known as SOSUS, the Sound Surveillance System. Thousands of highly sensitive hydrophones were stretched across the ocean floor, constantly recording the sounds of the deep. Originally designed to detect and track Soviet submarines moving through the oceans, the system could also hear catastrophic underwater explosions from remarkable distances. When the Soviet submarine K-129 disappeared, American intelligence analysts immediately began studying unusual acoustic recordings from the Pacific. By carefully triangulating the precise times of the recorded sounds, American intelligence identified what they believed was the exact location of the wreck. The Soviets, lacking this advanced technology, never found their lost submarine. The Americans, however, did. They knew exactly where it was, lying silent in pitch-black darkness under 5 kilometers of water. That incredible discovery triggered one of the most ambitious and expensive intelligence operations ever attempted in human history. The CIA secretly launched Project Azorian. To hide their true intentions from Soviet spy satellites, they created an elaborate cover story. Publicly, an eccentric billionaire appeared to finance a revolutionary deep-sea mining vessel called the Hughes Glomar Explorer. Privately, the massive ship had only one purpose: to lower a giant mechanical claw and recover the sunken Soviet nuclear submarine from nearly 5 kilometers beneath the Pacific Ocean. If successful, the United States could obtain intact Soviet nuclear missiles, cryptographic code equipment, and military secrets of immense strategic value. The secret operation was carried out in total isolation, but it succeeded only partially. During the lifting process, a mechanical failure caused sections of the submarine to break off and fall back into the abyss. Some critical parts were recovered, but much of the operation remains heavily classified today. Even now, modern historians continue to debate exactly what American engineers found inside that recovered Soviet wreck. Meanwhile, as the CIA planned its secret operation, another submarine was heading toward a sudden disaster. The American nuclear-powered attack submarine USS Scorpion had completed its regular operations in the Mediterranean and began its long journey back home across the Atlantic. Then, absolute silence. There was no emergency message sent to Naval Command. There was no confirmed mechanical failure reported before the silence. 99 American sailors disappeared beneath the cold waves of the Atlantic Ocean. When military investigators eventually located the shattered wreck months later, they found the submarine broken into pieces across the seabed, more than 3,000 meters deep. Exactly what caused its sudden destruction remains one of the most intensely contested questions in United States naval history. Some researchers point to a faulty torpedo that may have accidentally activated inside the submarine, while others suspect a catastrophic battery explosion. Official naval investigations for all 4 disappearances generally reached conventional conclusions. They listed mechanical failures, battery room explosions, sudden flooding, malfunctioning torpedoes, or human error as the most likely causes. Each of these explanations is technically plausible. Submarines operate under crushing environmental pressures where even a minor structural defect or a small fire can become fatal within seconds. There is no room for mistakes beneath the waves. Yet, the timing of these events continues to fascinate and disturb modern researchers. For major military submarines, for different powerful nations, one extraordinary, terrifying year. Could every single one of these catastrophic losses truly have been unrelated? Some historians have proposed a much darker possibility. Not alien encounters or mythical sea monsters, but secret naval confrontations that were never acknowledged publicly by any government. Throughout the Cold War, American and Soviet submarines routinely shadowed one another in a dangerous game of cat and mouse. Sometimes these massive steel machines approached within only a few hundred meters of each other in total darkness. There were documented collisions, dangerous tactical maneuvers, and aggressive intelligence-gathering missions. Many of these incidents remained classified for decades to prevent public panic. In such a high-stress environment, Even a single human mistake or an aggressive captain could prove catastrophic. And both governments had every incentive to completely conceal any undersea incidents that might risk triggering a full-scale nuclear escalation on land. It was far safer to report a tragic accident than to admit a hostile attack. However, despite decades of theories, there is still no conclusive physical evidence proving that the disappearances of 1968 resulted from covert combat. Most naval experts continue to favor independent mechanical causes over a coordinated, secret conflict. Still, the deep secrecy surrounding Cold War submarine operations leaves important gaps in the historical record. Many classified documents remain unavailable to the public, and some critical records may never see the light of day. The ocean keeps its secrets remarkably well, burying the truth under miles of salt water. Today, all 4 submarines rest in absolute silence on the ocean floor. They have become underwater graves and solemn memorials. They are steel time capsules preserving the final, terrifying moments of more than 300 sailors whose families waited at the ports for answers that, in many cases, never fully arrived. The Cold War is often remembered through public missile crises, dramatic political speeches, and towering concrete walls dividing Europe. But some of its most dangerous and costly battles unfolded where almost no one could witness them. Thousands of meters below the surface, in absolute darkness, where sonar echoes replaced gunfire and silence often meant death. Whether 1968 was simply a year of extraordinary naval misfortune or evidence of a hidden, bloody chapter in Cold War history may never be known with certainty, because unlike battlefields on land, the ocean rarely gives back its evidence. It simply buries it beneath miles of water and waits. If you enjoy thoughtful explorations of history's greatest unsolved mysteries, consider subscribing and sharing your own perspective in the comments below. Sometimes the most revealing discussions begin exactly where the historical record ends.